Hello and welcome to Outreach Programming. I'm Angie Moreski. Today, we're focusing on the issue of what makes a good employee. Issues like determination, loyalty, a person who stays at a job 5 years or longer, has a positive attitude, helps to raise the morale of coworkers, is less likely to be absent or late for work. Those all sound pretty good. Qualities associated with employees who are people with disabilities. Are you surprised? You really shouldn't be. Our guests today are out to shatter the myth that people with disabilities can't do a job as well as able-bodied people. Today, joining us is Enable America's founder and chairman, Richard Salem. It's a nonprofit organization that promotes the hiring of people with disabilities. And also joining us is Navy veteran Eric Kalal, who was injured during exercises of night training before being deployed and has now lost his eyesight. He was helped by Enable America to get back into the workforce. Now, we're going to be showing you a video in just a few moments to give you a better idea of what Enable America does in action and its mission. But first, Richard, I want to say thank you and welcome to both of you gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to ask you, Richard, first tell me a little bit about what Enable America's mission is.
It is a pleasure to be here, and thank you for the opportunity for us to share the mission and goals of Enable America. We're a national not-for-profit organization focused on promoting the employment of people with disabilities who, as a staggering rate, are 70% unemployed. Those that are capable of working and want to work are 70% unemployed. And these people, such as Eric and myself, should have the opportunity to live the American dream. And having a job is a key step into that dream.
And we talk about 70% of people with disabilities want to work but don't have jobs. Those are indeed staggering numbers. And part of the way that Enable America helps to promote the message that people with disabilities do indeed make good employees is by holding community connection forums around the country. So far this year you've been in Tampa, Philadelphia, Boston, New York City, all over the country spreading that message. And now we're going to take a look at a video that helps to tell us what Enable America is doing, and we're going to see Enable America in action.
There's a large amount of people that are very capable of working even though they're disabled and would be very loyal employees.
Melissa Hope Caulfield.
I don't think I have ever met anyone who was more courageous or tenacious or harder working.
Is it your dream to have a job?
Yes.
The word disability does not mean that you can't do your job.
Good things happen when people have jobs. That's the motto of Enable America founder, attorney Richard Salem.
70% of young people capable of being employed with serious disabilities are jobless, and that is unacceptable.
Enable America's Community Connection Forums work to change the perceptions that have led to that staggering unemployment rate of 70% for people with disabilities. Community leaders, lawmakers, employers, and service providers come together here to share ideas and find solutions. Technology is a key factor in bringing more people with disabilities into the workplace.
Technology Symposium 2006.
At this Enable America Community Connection Forum in Tampa, state-of-the-art technology was on display, like the Freedom Scientific JAWS software program, which electronically reads computer screens and email. JAWS stands for Job Access with Speech.
It's leveled the playing field for a person who is blind or low vision in the fact that it's enabled them to use a personal computer just as their sighted counterparts do.
Freedom Scientific's Jeff Bazer describes how it works.
We're in a list of emails here right now, so if I wanted to read any one of these,
Unread date last week.
press enter and begin reading an email message just like you would do on the screen where you click on it and begin to read.
We have a single mission a single focus: jobs, jobs, jobs.
The mission is close to the heart of Enable America's founder. Richard Salem lost his eyesight after being hit with a baseball when he was a teenager. At first, he shut out the world, but later realized with the help of his friends, life has too much to offer to just give up.
When I took that first step myself and took that deep breath to go out of my room for the first time after I'd lost my sight, I knew there was no turning back.
He went on to be the first blind person to graduate from Duke University's law school and is now a successful attorney. He knows firsthand having a job means inclusion in society.
People with disabilities look outside that window and wonder, how do I get involved in this community? How do I become a part of the American dream in the workplace?
These are questions forum attendees like Stanley Harris, a wheelchair user injured by a stray bullet, and Melissa Caulfield, who has cerebral palsy, ask themselves every day. They want to work, but can't find jobs.
I would be very loyal, and I'm honest, and I would, I'd work hard. I'd get the job done.
Stanley says he could do everything from computer work at home to mowing lawns. He's paralyzed from the waist down and must deal with spasticity, but it doesn't hold him back from being active.
Go right here. Come on. Good girl.
Most of all, he has passion.
I just feel like I have, something to offer. And of course, make more money.
I graduated with honors. What was my
Your GPA?
my GPA? I think was
was 3.7, I think.
3.7. Yes.
Melissa is also very passionate and very proud. She deals with mobility issues due to her cerebral palsy, but her determination makes up for it. With resume in hand, Melissa and her mom, Terry Boatner, came to the Tampa conference ready to network.
Melissa is an inspiration to everyone she meets.
Melissa graduated from the University of South Florida in 2004 after 10 years of hard work. As she walked across the stage to get her diploma, 5,000 people in the auditorium gave her a standing ovation.
It was just probably the most proud moment of my life.
But after all she's accomplished, Melissa can't find a job. Here's what she wants employers to know.
I work at my own pace, but I'm accurate.
They get absolute dedication. They get no excuses. They get someone who is heartfelt about what they're doing, who appreciates having a job, and who wants to please.
Take, for example, Enrique Oliu.
I've been blind since I was born 44 years ago.
Necesitan, o sea, querían que él lanzara 6-5 innings.
Enrique is the color analyst for the Spanish broadcast of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays baseball games, a job he does flawlessly, despite having never seen a baseball game.
I love this. This is a dream that I had, a dream that I've been able to accomplish. Hey, Gary.
When he arrives at the stadium, Enrique greets everyone with the excitement of a child at a baseball game, leaving smiles all along the way. He navigates the maze of hallways and steps that lead to the field better than most of his sighted colleagues.
A manera que camine la transmisión de.
In the dugout before the game, he interviews the managers, talks to the players, and takes in the aura on the field.
Because I'm always full tilt, like processing, like digesting, and I never can let it go.
His wife, Debbie, is often by his side. She tells him where key people are and points him in the right direction. He takes it from there.
It's a lot of hard work and determination, and just never saying no and just saying I can do whatever, and then don't, I'm going to knock on the door and never give up.
I owe a lot of what I am to my parents, who were, at least my dad drove me as hard as he could. Just because I was blind, he didn't feel sorry. He drove me about as hard as anybody. So I've never let anything stop me. I've gone. I mean, to what I wanted to do. I guess I've always been the kind, okay, go for it.
Chicago, que ganó hoy con un cuadrangular.
Oh, I love it. It's like the fulfilling of a dream. You think, oh, God, this is so great. I mean, it's the thing that here I am in the big leagues.
As a shining example of the benefits of hiring a person with a disability, Enrique attended this Enable America Community Connection Forum, as did another striking example of success, Arizona Jenkins, the United Way Volunteer of the Year for Tampa Bay. Arizona has cerebral palsy. He is an expert at managing his disability and fights for his rights and the rights of others.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Now, as president of his own business, New Horizons, Arizona counsels other people with disabilities, helping them to find the services they need, whether it's transportation, housing, or health care.
I live to help someone else.
It's a time for people who have disabilities to, go out and educate somebody. Let them know that, hey, you know what, I could do that in a good way.
Entrepreneur Lou Fiorito, who is blind, runs his own Braille printing business, BrailleWorks.
Here is a complete table of contents.
Lou says now more than ever, it's time for employers to consider hiring people with disabilities. The national unemployment rate is at an historic low, and businesses are struggling to find good workers.
These are people that are qualified people, they're educated people. It's a pool that the employers need to start tapping into.
He understands the fear factor employers may have about hiring people with disabilities.
How's he going to get around the office? And what if somebody leaves a chair out? And what if this? And what if that? And, all these what ifs that really never, ever happened.
He urges employers to just ask.
The fear factor needs to be discussed up front. Get it done. Deal with it up front. It's our responsibility. The people with the disabilities, it's up to us to help people without disabilities feel comfortable around us.
It's time to help businesses discover the benefits of hiring people with disabilities.
When you have people with disabilities in the workplace, that workplace, their fellow workers start appreciating that maybe I didn't have it so bad after all.
Enable America's Community Connection Forums are an important step in building a bridge between people with disabilities and the workplace to create more success stories like Enrique and Arizona.
I think coming here helped.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. This is a great networking opportunity.
Thank you all again.
But Enable America doesn't stop here. After every forum, local business leaders are gathered together for a business roundtable to discuss the benefits of tapping into this viable job pool. The message is strong.
They're missing, employees that want to work for them, that want to work, period. And that would go over the 100% to try to keep, the job.
If somebody's willing to take a chance on somebody, they'll work.
When they see your smile, I bet it brightens up anybody's day. You've got a beautiful smile.
Thank you.
Bottom line, good things happen when people have jobs.
Good things happen when people have jobs.
Good things happen when people have jobs. That is your motto, Richard. Tell me a little bit about why a job is so important for people with disabilities.
The American dream is centered around involvement in our families, our communities, and in the workplace. And I know myself, the message of Enable America, that people make the difference, connecting one to the other, was very true in my life. When I was a teenager, I lost my sight and fairly quickly decided that the best thing I could do is to stay in my room the rest of my life. And with the help of family and friends, I was finally coaxed out of my room, and some friends came over one afternoon and said, why don't you come out with us tonight? And for the 1001 time, I said, no, thank you. Tell me how it went tomorrow. And they said, we'll take you down to the beach and ride around. If you'll come out your window, we'll put you back through, and nobody will ever have to know that you left your room. So, for whatever reason, that night, 11 o'clock, the tap on the window came, and I climbed out the window, and they did catch me, and we did ride down to the beach, and on the way back with the wind blowing and the music playing and telling jokes, for a moment I thought maybe it isn't so bad out here in the able-bodied real world. So I went home that night, and I remember coming in the front door and my parents sitting up waiting, and they said, so where have you been? I said, well, we went for a ride down to the beach. And they said, sit down, we have two things to talk about. First, don't leave the house without your parents first knowing. You've been in your room for a long time, and we go to say goodnight and you're not there. And secondly, keep fighting. Keep going out the front door and in the front door as opposed to climbing through windows. There'll always be people there to help you, to catch you, and at some point in your life, you'll be helping them as well. So taking that first step is a very important mission for each of us as able-bodied or disabled people to get out and do the best we can. And if we have one message to share with others, is that it can be done, but it has to start with each individual.
And you have done it very well indeed. We mentioned you are the first blind person to graduate from Duke University Law School. You're a prominent attorney here in Tampa and Washington, D.C., New York City. Among your friends, several congressmen and senators and even ambassadors. So truly, truly an amazing success story. And now with Enable America, you are giving back and helping others. And one of the programs associated with Enable America is your pilot project called Vet Connect. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
We are so fortunate to have brave men and women fighting for us on the front lines of the combat theater today in Iraq and Afghanistan and other times and other places. And with the miracles of modern medicine, so many lives are being sold. Our hearts go out to the families that have lost loved ones, 3,000 or more. But 30,000 of our veterans are coming back with life-altering disabilities, like my partner, Eric. And those people deserve to live the American dream as well. And at the point that they are able to start getting their bearings in a hospital room, Angie, we often go and visit these wounded warfighters and ask them, soldier, sailor, what do you want to do when you get out of the hospital? I've got to get back to my unit, sir, they need me. We want to preserve that fight, that courage in them, so that the same fight, the same spunk that they had when they signed up and went to fight this war is with them as they enter the community. So Vet Connect helps bridge the gap between the hospital room, the rehabilitation center, which are all very wonderful, and the community that they're about to rejoin, not as an able-bodied warfighter, but as a person with a disability that still wants to get back to my unit, sir. That unit just changed now. It's their community. It's their new job.
And I know, Eric, talking with you briefly, that was your attitude. I need to get back to my unit, even after you were injured. You were injured during night training exercises in 2000, before you were deployed. Tell me a little bit about what exactly happened to you, Eric.
Yes, ma'am. My platoon, we were conducting night military free-fall parachute operations aboard Camp Lejeune in North Carolina as part of the 2nd Force Reconnaissance Company. Basically, I exited the aircraft at approximately 8,000 feet. And upon descent, everything was fine and dandy. Full altitude was fine. And there were some high winds aloft, meaning at altitude, so I kind of got blown out of the drop zone. And I was setting up for landing. Everything looked good to go, basically, and I dropped my combat equipment accordingly, and about 5 seconds before I was going to have my feet on the ground, I became a human lightning rod and caught an arc from a high voltage transformer off a set of high tension power lines.
Wow.
And
That left you paralyzed, and it also burned your retinas, which is how you ultimately lost your eyesight. You were able to regain the ability to walk through extensive rehab and fight back in that way, but you still have lost your eyesight now. I want to talk to you a little bit about what happened to you personally to help you get back into the game. How did you do it?
After the series of rehabilitation and numerous surgeries, fought to stay in the service because that's my mission. My mission was to do the job, and once the morning that I was allowed to re-enlist is when I suffered. I woke up in darkness, sort of bittersweet. I did it. I lost my eyesight, and went through a brief period of not necessarily boo-hoo, but now what? And when I was going through visual rehabilitation services in Connecticut with the Veterans Administration is when I received a phone call from Mrs. Beverly Young, who I'd met previously while I was at Walter Reed.
Congressman Young's wife.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And she knows Richard.
Yes, ma'am. And she is full of spark, and she said, well, there's someone, I have a friend, and next thing I know, I'm speaking with Mr. Salem, and initially was a little apprehensive, but through my dealings with Mr. Salem and meeting him and basically becoming a part of his extended family, I was inspired. If he can do it, why not me?
And you're with a company now. Tell me about that.
Yes, ma'am. My company that given assistance through Mr. Salem and Enable America formed Over the Horizon, and we are attempting to capitalize, and through diligent hard work, capitalize on executive order that was signed as far as service disabled veteran-owned business, and sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Success is around the corner.
Yeah.
Richard, I want to ask you this question. What do you find in your travels around this country? What is the biggest obstacle to people with disabilities finding employment?
What Eric just alluded to, that bit of reservation and hesitancy, is what we call the fear factor. And we've been very, very fortunate as people with disabilities to have people like Chairman Young and Senator Harkin and others in the United States Congress put laws into effect that eliminate the architectural barriers. But it's not so easy to get over the attitudinal barrier of fear as it is to build a curb cut. So I think the biggest barrier, if I had to pick one, from both the employer's perspective, not knowing what to do, how to hire, what's involved in hiring and retaining a person with a disability, and on the person with the disability side, what is it like out in that big world? So the fear factor, attitudinal barrier is number one obstacle.
Well, why is this such an important time to be tackling this issue? It's a good time because there's opportunity, isn't that right? There's opportunities, but there's also record unemployment. I mean, unemployment rates are way down, and that the business people want to find and retain qualified people to work in their businesses. And people with disabilities have dedication, desire, determination, what we call the 3 Ds, to offer. They're 70% less likely to change jobs within a 5-year period, 50% less absentee or tardiness. And one thing that each person with a disability must do every day is exercise critical thinking. To get up, get dressed, and do whatever you're going to do that day requires a critical thinking skill, and bringing that to the workplace, as well as
qualified training helps to increase the morale and the productivity of the entire workplace.
And what about technology? That's also a big issue, right? That's helping to level the playing field for people with disabilities in the workplace.
It's absolutely marvelous. When Eric and I first met by telephone, he was learning how to use a technology that would read email and websites to him and that gave him free access to the internet, just unheard of before. In New York last week, we saw a wheelchair that can climb steps for people that are wheelchair users and have mobility issues. In the last month, a prosthetic device that will move an arm, a hand, just by the thought process will help people with disabilities who have some type of motion inhibitor to get over that with the use of technology. So as Eric says, the sky's the limit. There's not much people with disabilities can't do using whatever abilities they may have.
And Eric, let me ask you, what is your advice to other people with disabilities as they try to get back out there into the workforce?
Simply never quit, never surrender. We speak of leveling the playing field. I'd like to, how about we just raise the bar and that just keep going, drive on. There's going to be days where you stub your toe, bang your head, forget X, Y, or Z. Just never quit. The only easy day was yesterday because that day's done. So just keep driving forward.
Keep moving forward. And Richard, how will you measure success? What's your goal?
Our goal is to increase the employment of people with disabilities by 3%. That doesn't sound like a lot, but by 3% by the year 2010. So as that year comes to a close, we want to be able to measure, and we have targeted companies and targeted communities to serve as our barometer to see how we're doing. But a 3% increase of employment with people with disabilities around this country will start to change that paradigm. Will start to allow things to move on their own momentum.
Well, it's a wonderful goal, and I know you will achieve it. I thank you both for joining us today, Richard Salem of Enable America and our veteran Eric Kalau. The numbers truly are staggering when you consider that 70% of people with disabilities want to work but don't have jobs. That's some 18 million people, a skilled and ready job pool, and it's a time of opportunity for people with disabilities and employers to take advantage of that job pool. If you'd like more information, you can contact Enable America. Visit their website at www.enableamerica.org, or you can call Enable America at 1-877-ENABLED. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.